Hey everyone, and welcome to Ginger Prime, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, Soul Nation. You know you got a big brain and maybe some other big things rocking and rolling for you today. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Random and maybe a little bit cringy compliments at the beginning of videos. Today we're talking about Xbox Series X. I've been able to spend the whole weekend with it. It kind of feels like, maybe I'm dating a girlfriend in this regards by just thinking of my weekend with Xbox Series X. But I am coming off this weekend really impressed by the hardware, really impressed by the, how the whole thing comes together. And this is to also say that there are some definitely things that I think that Xbox could do a little bit better, but we're going to talk about that. This is a coffee chat. I've got my coffee. As always, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below, because these systems don't exist in an ecosystem. I tried to get a PS5. I was not able to secure a pre-order, and now I'm kind of sitting back on the sidelines, just kind of waiting for Final Fantasy 16 and hopeful, just so I know this is an Xbox video, but hopeful that they release a 16 special edition console. I've always seen those release for certain games and consoles, but I've always had the console when they have happened, and this might be the first opportunity that I get one of those special little consoles. So that's kind of what I'm holding out for now for the PS5. But focusing in on Series X, this is a system that is a continuation rather than a generation, and that's not a negative thing. That's actually one of the things I do appreciate about it. However, if you're sitting here waiting to upgrade to a Series X or a Series S in this weird case, the naming convention, Microsoft, you've done it again, you've confused the world. But if you're waiting to upgrade, honestly, it's very nice not to feel left out. So we picked up a Series X, and I still have my Xbox One X. And so this weekend, I got to spend some time playing my Call of Duty with my wife. So we were able to still game together, and that's a real strength of the platform. That's a real strength of the experience, but it's also sometimes a weakness. So what I mean by that is that being able to play and having games load as fast as they load, this experience, especially when it comes to a single player game like Final Fantasy XV, which I have been returning to. We'll get into the hard drive space here in a minute, but when I'm playing these games, it's so nice to be able to jump in and jump out of games. I played actually a ton of games with my kids because it just is able to get into it, and the fast user switching by far is one of the most exciting things to be able to just boot up a game. And so I'm praising that. I did hook up an external hard drive space because I think the number one thing that actually is going to make me more cloud positive than I already am. And you're like, what the hell's cloud positive? I'm a cloud gamer. I've been gaming in the cloud since June of 2019. And as every game that I can play in the cloud has moved into that ecosystem, it's still a whole mess with all the different services and how games in here work. But just the hard drive space alone, I have filled up the NVMe, the fast hard drive space, with the games that I'm actively playing. I've got an external hard drive, and that is also very helpful. So for games that I'm not necessarily needing or really worried about that loading speed, I can keep on the external hard drive. That's not a big issue. However, at the same time, when I look at just the cost of expanding my fast memory, my fast internal memory, and games aren't getting bigger. The games aren't getting any smaller. Call of Duty is such a effing massive game. I cannot even imagine what PC players are going through right now. And that kind of gets into the aspect of xCloud. xCloud next year gets updated to the Series X backbone. I've been able to actually stream my console, my Series X console, to my phone, my Apple phone, and it's a really phenomenal experience. That was something that is baked in, based off of the xCloud architecture. So streaming is available, but not to PC. And I'm like, what the heck, Microsoft, are you doing in this regards? It's so weird and feels a little bit backwards, but at least I can stream to my phone, but I cannot stream to my PC. So you're not actually getting to see my Xbox experience because my capture card, because my USBs on my PC are just all randomly failing. Anyway, saving up for a new PC. That's going to be something hopefully coming in 2021 for me, but we'll see here. Who knows what 2021 is going to throw our way. But anyway, back to kind of this concept of the continuation versus the generation. First things first, jumping into an Xbox Series X feels just like you're on an Xbox, except for it is snappy as all get out. Setting it to, I have 120 frames and the HDMI 2.1 TV, which is in 4K. Holy freaking smokes, it feels so good. It's such a very professional experience, where especially coming from an Xbox One at launch to this, like, it's a whole different ball game. Microsoft at least feels like they're rocking and rolling and forcing that, at least they're firing on all cylinders, and it looks like they have a direction, as opposed to the Xbox One felt like they were like TV and whatever. But this is about games, and that's the first kind of the disappointment in a way, is that I don't have that input for the HDMI, so I have to, I use that a lot. That was a feature that I really enjoyed about Xbox, but at the end of the day, that means I've actually not installed any video apps on the Series X, because I'm just going to let my smart TV take over it. That's perfectly fine and dandy. The one thing I cannot get it to work, and I've said it and I've looked it up and I'm going to keep trying, I can't get my TV to turn on when my Xbox turns on. I really love that feature about the Xbox One X, and I really like that feature because that's how we use the Xbox One to control our TV for where our second Xbox is, and it's a treat. It's a gem. And now I'm sitting here going like, yeah, maybe I would have gotten a Series S, or like at some point down the road, like another Series X. And now I'm just like, oh, I don't know. I would need to make sure, because we don't actually have a remote for the second TV. Literally, the remote is the Xbox in a way. So that's one kind of like side story. There you go, internet, and hopefully enjoy that. So now I talked about the fact that the Series X actually makes me more cloud positive. I do want to take some time to address that. I've put Anthem on there. I've put Phantasy Star Online 2 on Series X. I've put a lot of these games, especially with bigger load times, and they're snappy and they're easy to get into and they're a lot of fun. And you might be like, Brian, Anthem's not fun. Oh, I hear you. But just note that one of the downsides of Anthem was its insane load times, and reducing that increases my overall enjoyment of the game. Phantasy Star Online 2 feels great. It already did prior to this, but it looks beautiful and it runs incredibly fast. A lot of the times I spent is playing Destiny and playing the new Call of Duty with friends, and it is awesome. Like, it is great, except for the fact that it's Activision. Activision sucks. They're not using the smart delivery, which just feels cheap. It just because they have 2 editions and you have to choose which one to download. So honestly, Activision, go, I don't know, kick your own butt at some point, trying to come up with a general friendly, you suck. Let's just call it what it is. Activision as a company sucks. So, the other side of this is that, how does it compare to Stadia? Stadia still has the advantage. And you might be like, what? Why are we talking about Stadia? Games-wise, no, Xbox absolutely has the advantage. Technology-wise and speed-wise, Stadia has the leg up and that's why when Xbox or xCloud goes to the Series X backbone, I think that's when they're going to actually be comparable. But Stadia still loads faster. It has unlimited hard drive space, and it's the cheapest option around overall. But that's, I think, an interesting point, because one of the things is that you kind of see people meme on it a lot. And I think it's natural. I think it's like until you actually go hands-on and you feel that speed, it's important to understand just how fast that platform is. But here's the whole point, and the reason why I bring that up. Series X brought me back to playing in the living room. And while I could play Stadia in the living room, I have so many more games within the Xbox ecosystem. Game Pass is a dream, and just those 2 things alone have me playing on my Xbox, where for the last year, it was just a pain. It would be really hard to go from a Series X to an Xbox One, or One X in that regards. And having done that, being that we still have an Xbox One X, I don't want to go to that platform, because that speed, once you feel like, hey, there's a fast lane, you can go into this lane, and then all of a sudden you got to go sit in traffic. It's the fact that that there's a faster way that you could be playing these games, you can be enjoying these games, that drive me into that ecosystem. And so that's, I think, a real important distinction. So with this, Series X has it actually competing against what I've experienced with the Stadia. Now on the PS5 side, like I said, I'm going to wait until a Final Fantasy bundle comes out, because honestly, I think PlayStation's still playing the old game. And I think ultimately, from what I hear from a lot of gamers, and again, this is probably a skewed opinion, an opinion that's not necessarily reflective of the whole, but PlayStation's doing the things that they do. And they're buying exclusives, they're locking people out of content for a year, things like that. That was what made sense when everybody else was doing it. However, there's a general fatigue that I'm hearing from PlayStation fans, from people who are like, I was thinking about getting a PS5, but I just can't support that kind of mindset. I'm also hearing, rumors for both platforms overheating and problems and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily going to buy into that just yet. I think that there's there's a sense of that I always kind of worry about the clout chasers out there, like, oh, look at me, and finding ways to get that easily shareable thing, because it kind of feeds into one, camp, one tribe, etc. Like, oh my gosh, did you hear that this tribe, really sucks, or, they're overheating and they're blowing smoke, or they're failing. And I'm just going to wait. I think when all the dust settles, we'll have a better picture of if there's any hardware issues in the long run. And so for me, especially coming off of 360 and the Red Ring of Death, I think it's important to kind of be aware of that. That's why early adopters are the people who pay the most, both in terms of price, but also in risk. So if you're sitting here on the fence, the best thing that is about the Xbox is its continuation mindset rather than generation. People can upgrade when they can upgrade. And in this ecosystem, in this environment, in this world in 2020, when somebody might be saying, hey, you want to do $500 for your hobby? You don't have to do that. You can sit here and say, I can wait. I can still keep doing that hobby for another couple of years and see where it goes. But that's not to say that Xbox Series X does not need a showpiece. And that's where, when you look at the ecosystem, when you look at the games, like Gears 5, people will use that as the showcase, but it's unfortunate because the Xbox Series X could really benefit from something. And obviously Halo being delayed, I think, is that something that they were banking on, that difference maker, that thing to be excited about, to say, look what it can do, versus even though it was on the old system, still that new game, that brand new drop. One of the reasons why I think Godfall, for me, is so exciting. And if you guys haven't seen my thoughts on Godfall, video is already up here on the channel. Now, there's a couple things I'll be working on this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I plan on putting together a year one review of the Series 2 controller Elite. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. And then we also have some guides coming for Godfall and some more guides coming for Destiny. And that's going to wrap this up, this coffee chat. Guys, thanks for hanging out with me this whole time. And if you did, make sure you drop a comment. Say hoo-doo-hoo, or something like that. Something silly. So that way I know you made it to the end of this video. And if this is randomly a video that gets you to hit that subscribe button, let me know as well, so that way I can welcome you to the Soul Nation. But I'm going to wrap up today. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic experience. And let me know what you think about the Series X, PS5, anything and it all in the comments below. It's an open forum here. All thoughts are welcome. Anyway, like I said, my name's Brian. Hopefully you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.